Man, it is that time of week again. What are we
Yes,
talking
sir.
about today?
Uh, we're switching it up for you guys. We got a good one coming up. We're talking to you guys about Arcane.
Yeah, the hit show
Arcane.
on Netflix. Probably
Netflix. Yep.
my second favorite show of 2021. I mean, this show was an absolute banger from beginning to end. Just a crazy web of characters and plot lines. Um, Basically from top to bottom, everything about this show was just insane. I mean, I really can't say enough about how good this show is.
The show. The show is actually really good. Like honestly, in my opinion, it might deserve an immediate rewatch. Only because there's so much stuff you can miss the first time around. And
Definitely.
I haven't felt like that about a show in a while. So this show definitely brought it in terms of the different story paths that it took and everything that they filled in to each part of the story.
Yeah, definitely. Before season two comes out, like right around when it's about to drop, I am going to rewatch the show because I want to remember everything. I mean, even just for the visuals, I'd rewatch the show because the art
Right.
style was just it was just so beautiful, man. I mean, I
Yo, the
really
animation style.
yeah, like them people really put that work in. They was going crazy. I mean, and there's a reason why it took so long to come out. I think they said it took them 5 years to make season one.
Really?
Yeah, and you could tell because just the details and how smooth the animation is.
Right.
I mean, it's all really top notch. I mean,
Wow.
there's not really a lot that matches it in terms of
In terms of the style.
just how good the animation is.
Yeah, the animation is crazy. The animation was one of the first things that really jumped out at me. I was like, wow, like I haven't really seen this style of animation before. It was kind of like sketches almost, but it was cool because it was smooth. It was like sketches, but it was smooth. So
Right,
I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool the way they're mixing the way all the lines are working in the show.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. It was similar to like a Spider Verse, and you're starting to see more shows and stuff do this now. Is
Oh
where
yeah,
it's a 3D show, but they like paint and draw over the 3D models.
right.
So it really gives it a different look because it's different from like a Disney or Pixar 3D animation where they
Hmm.
just make the model and all of it is kind of I don't even know how to say it, but they don't paint or draw on it. It's like they just make everything that's the model and then that's the model. But like in this show, a lot of the stuff and they incorporated a lot of 2D things into it. So there was a lot of 2D stuff. Like I noticed every time somebody was smoking or something, it was a 2D like the smoke was 2D, but
Oh,
all the
that's
people
interesting.
and objects were like a 3D model, but a lot of the people's um like eyebrows and like facial lines and stuff like that was drawn on or painted on. And the
Hmm.
backgrounds and stuff were pink too. So it really had a unique look. It blended 2D and 3D, and it was just gorgeous, man. I mean, it was one of those shows where I could kind of probably pause it on any frame, and it's like worth putting as my wallpaper or something, you know?
Right, right.
Like everything just looks so good the entire time.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um I was thinking about like, how beautiful this show is. Like I was like all the colors that they used and like the way they use light and once again like the different lines and and the different it's interesting that you pointed out like different 2D and 3D graphics that they use at the same time.
Hmm.
It's cool because we actually got a lot of that now that I'm thinking about it. Um but yeah, like this show it really covered like a lot. There were so many characters. Each character really had like their own each character going through their own huge transformation from the beginning of the show to the end of the show.
Hmm.
And like we got a lot of some characters, and some characters I wish we got more of. I thought like overall they really did a good job with like the character development
Hmm.
and the character development and like the relationship development between the characters and everything.
Well, thankfully, we're getting a season 2, and they said it's not going to take 5 years for them to do season 2. So
I hope not.
hopefully it comes out in 2023. Honestly, I know it takes time.
Yeah, it
So
definitely takes time.
hopefully it comes out in 2023. I know it's probably not coming in 2022, just because of how late it came out last year, and
Yeah.
them folks deserve a break after what they did. So
So
yeah,
yeah, because
hopefully it comes out in 2023.
when did the first Spider-Verse come out?
2018.
It came out 2018, and then we're
Yeah.
not even getting like I mean we're only getting the second one like now
Yeah.
in
I
in
think
the
it
end of
was
this
supposed to
year.
come out in 21 though, but it got delayed because of COVID.
Okay, that makes
But
a lot
three
of
years
sense
is still
actually.
long though. 3 years is still
Yeah,
a
three
long
years.
time.
Yeah,
And they're
that is
even
still a long
going
time.
further. I mean, this is off topic, but I won't even say it because they're pushing boundaries even further with Spider-Verse 2. But
Oh yeah, I heard.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, this show Arcane, probably my second favorite, like I said, of 2021. It really just blew me away. I mean, everyone had like a real arc. There were so many
Hmm.
interesting characters, and you really saw that duality of the city of Piltover and how it had the undercities on, and that's kind of like how a lot of cities are in real life. Maybe not under and upper, but there's always the rich side and then the poor
Right.
side, and then you have people on the rich side that they're just in their own little bubble, and they don't really know what's going on, outside of it.
Right.
So I think that whole deal was interesting, and you really just saw a bunch of people, with different goals and aspirations, trying to make it happen. And I really like that world too. I like that sort of steampunk magic world kind of thing they had going on. And I haven't really seen much steampunk stuff before. I need to watch some more, but I thought it was really cool. Just the whole look of the world and all the politics of it and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah,
like I think
I
the show really did a good job with the world building too.
it did do a good job with the world building. I like the world as well because I like worlds where like the technology that they use is a little more analog than it is like digital,
Right, right,
right? And like this world didn't have any digital technology whatsoever, but it still felt so advanced,
right,
you
right,
know.
right.
So
Because they were
I really
using.
enjoy that. What are you saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say that because they were using like magic and different things, and they still had vehicles and stuff like that. But yeah, like you
Right.
said, there was no like cell phones or computers or anything like that.
Hmm. So I really like the story that they built. It was very interesting because like in the first episode, you never really know where the story's gonna. You never really know right away where the story's gonna go. So
Hmm.
it was kind of it was really cool seeing how they were as kids and how they grew up, sort of scavenging from Piltover,
Hmm.
in order to be able to make money to live and stuff. And then I thought episode 3 ended like crazy. I thought
Was,
episode
was
3 was
was
one of my favorite episodes in the season.
oh, definitely was episode 3 was when Vi left Powder.
Yeah,
Yo, see, that was probably one of the saddest moments I've ever seen in any TV show or movie.
Yeah,
Like,
it was so
cause
sad.
it was from what happened, and then the acting really sold it. I mean, that was another thing that I forgot to mention was the voice acting was just stellar. I
Yeah,
mean, it was insane. And it goes to show you how much voice acting is a talent, and a lot of people overlook it. I mean, it's something not everybody can do, you know.
right.
But yeah, they really did their thing with this one. I mean, that moment, and especially after that such a big fight, which was a great fight by the way,
That was a
and
great
then
fight. Yeah,
the explosion killing, and that was the other thing. That was the other thing that really made it sad. I didn't expect Milo and Viego to die, because that's another thing.
yeah,
You never expect a movie or a show to kill kids. It's like,
right.
because whenever you watch so many kids in danger, you're all just like, yeah, whatever. The kid's not gonna die. They're not gonna kill the freaking kid, right? But nope, this show did
Hmm.
it. So yeah, Milo and Viego died, which was sad. And then it was the whole, because Powder wasn't really trying to kill nobody. It was just a mistake. And they really set it up too, because the whole time she was trying to make the grenades, and then the
Yeah,
grenades never worked. But then the one time it worked, she was happy. But then she ended up killing her family basically. I mean, they're not related by blood, but that was her
yeah,
family. So it ended up just really being all around saddest moment, on top of being devastated. Your invention that finally worked killed your family, and then the one family you got left you. Like, damn, that was that's definitely top 5 saddest moments I've ever seen in a movie or TV show, for real.
yeah. It was really a lot going on in episode 3 though. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like if episode 1 and 2, if you watch this show and episode 1 and 2 don't have you hooked, I would wait till episode 3 to make a decision if you want to keep watching the show or not.
Right, right.
Because episode 3, by the time the episode was finished, I was hooked. Like there was no turning back. Like
Hmm.
like it was crazy because like the episode 1 started off with the explosion, right, and that's what led
Hmm.
into the investigation into Vander's people, right?
Right, right.
Um, and then Vander wasn't giving his kids up, so and honestly, neither were the other people of the Undercity, which was kind of cool. Like I didn't really expect them to all be so supportive of each other. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
But it was more like the Undercity was like before Shimmer got involved. The Undercity was like one big family. So I kind of like that. But in episode 3, like Vander was gonna turn himself in to the authorities in Piltover, and then that whole scene. Wait, did that start at episode 3 or 2?
Wait, which one?
Okay, so Vander gave up. Was gonna turn himself into the authorities, and then Silco came through with his monster, and then was just tearing everything up.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember if that was episode 2 or 3.
Well, it was definitely between episode 2 and 3, as the family worked as a team, right? Each person had their own specific like tasks that they had to do.
Hmm.
Like Vi was obviously the fighter of the group, right? And then even though Viego was strong, he was the one that had to knock through to make the way that they would escape, right? And then Milo was the one who knew how to pick locks, so he was the one in charge of getting Vander out of the situation. So I just thought like I love stuff like that where each character in a certain scene has their own specific ability, and then they just sequenced it so well where each character was just doing their thing, and then like you were just waiting for them to finish up, and then all of a sudden like the scene ended with okay, so like the way it worked is that everybody did their thing, right? Even Powder, because Powder's invention actually worked. that time, right? So it
Hmm.
was like everybody's skills were actually shown in that one moment, but it just so happened that like Powder's one time that her skills actually worked, it actually put the rest of her family in danger, and then ended up ended up with everybody else dying except for her and Vi. So that was like I really love that scene for that reason, and also like that was probably one of the best fights. Oh, it was like top three fights between Vi and like Silco's minions in
Hmm.
in like in the whole show.
Yeah, that fight, and it was just, and this is just another thing how they helped set up the end of the episode too, is because in the beginning it looked like Vi was winning, so you
Right,
actually felt hopeful, like okay, maybe everybody's gonna get out of this, but in the end, nope. We ended up with three deaths, one person mentally scarred forever, and
right,
another one who is alone. I mean, damn,
yeah. It
what a
was just so
sad
crazy.
ending. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so crazy. And then like I like I like Vander as a character and like as like their dad. Earlier on, like he became one of my favorite characters, and I didn't think I have no idea about like League of Legends, which this is based off of, right? So
Yeah,
like
I've never played it. I don't know anything about it or what.
yeah, like I've never played it before, so I I didn't know I had no idea like what Vander's character like what his fate was. So when I think Vi I think Vi fought the monster, Silco's monster, and she got knocked down, and the Vander got up and the Vander started fighting, and then he was putting in work. But then when he got to the monster, like the monster knocked him over the edge, and then he ended up taking the shimmer,
Hmm.
right? I thought the story I thought the story from then on was gonna be about like Vander dealing with the shimmer, and I didn't expect him to die in that moment, which
Hmm.
is why which is one of the reasons why it was so sad for me as well.
Right, right. And I think that's something a lot of shows can learn from is don't be scared to kill somebody. But you can't just kill someone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There's gotta be a way, of course. You can't just kill someone with no, backstory, or else the audience is not gonna care. But if you do something like that, the way they handled Vander, I mean, it's just gonna be like a gut punch, and the audience is really gonna feel that.
right. One thing I have to say about that though is that it's easier when there's like a lot of characters, right? So it's like
Hmm.
sometimes in shows like there's not enough characters for them to kill people off, and I think that like you can see from this show that like I feel like honestly the more characters the better because like I didn't really I had no idea any of them were gonna die in that moment. Like
Hmm.
I was so I was so excited in that moment to see that everybody was doing their thing in that moment, and they were and like I expected them all to get out, right? But then after that first explosion, and then I think like Milo was like his like shoulder was like impaled into the wall behind him. The look on his face was so shocked. I was literally I had the same look on my face. I was just as shocked. I was like, what? And then and then when the roof fell down, I was like, oh nah. And then it fell down on Viego as well. And I was like, wow, that sucks. And then
Right.
after that, like I just knew like everything else was going downhill.
But even in that moment, there's always that thought that's just like maybe they survive under there. But it's like
Right.
nope. And
Yeah.
and like you said with the characters, it really works in a TV show because, well, if you have a lot of good characters, if you use the time wisely, I always got to compare it to a show like Game of Thrones because that was a show where people were getting killed left and right. You didn't see that, did you?
I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but
Yeah.
I
See, I
actually
always forget. I always forget.
I actually heard that though. Like that like a lot of the characters would die.
Yeah. Yeah, people die left and right. Like you don't know who's gonna live, who's gonna survive. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything, but whoever your favorite person is, just know they most likely die. So anybody who's seen Game of
That's
Thrones
crazy.
knows what I'm talking about. And it's like sort of the same thing here. Here, like, there's always that sense of danger. You know, I think a lot of times shows and movies get away from that. There's no stakes. People complain about that, like, oh, there's no stakes. Um, and for there to be stakes, you have to, sometimes you have to knock a character down. You don't have to kill them, but sometimes you have to put them through hardship. And a lot of times, and to really, throw people for a loop, you do have to kill people sometimes. Just to let people know, you're not playing around. There's actually danger. Because what's the point of even watching if there's no danger?
But
Yeah, there was so many unexpected deaths, all kinds of nonsense, man. It was just crazy. And you know what else? What else I gotta commend him on to? Having black people in the show. I mean,
oh yeah, yeah. I didn't really I didn't really expect them to have that many black people in the show. It was like refreshing. Like
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
I I like I like Echo's character earlier on, right?
yeah. Echo was dope.
Yeah, Echo was cool. And then I thought episode 1 and 3 or 1 to 3 were a really good setup for like how things were and then how things or was a really good setup to show like how things were before like the rest of the season, which is like how things are now. Especially because we got a huge time jump in between episodes 3 and 4.
Hmm.
You really saw how like all of the earlier issues that Powder was dealing with really contributed to her transformation into Jinx later on in the story,
Hmm.
right? And it was just so cool to see how each one of the characters evolved. Like it was
Hmm.
actually crazy. Like from the beginning, like Vi was always one of my favorite characters, but she became such a better fighter toward the end of the show, and I was like, yeah, like she's really killing it. Because
Yeah.
like after the episode 3, I was like, oh yeah, Vi's actually nice. What was I gonna say? Who's your who's your favorite character in the show?
Mm. It's hard to pick one. It's hard to pick.
It is hard to choose one.
Um, if I had to pick, if I had to pick, I don't know. There's so many. Because even
Yeah, there are a
even
lot.
even Silco, like the bad people were really good too. But if I had to pick
Yeah.
one, I'd probably pick I'd probably pick Jace or Victor. I don't know. See, it's hard because
You pick Jason Victor?
yeah,
Okay.
maybe, but also Powder. Like Powder's story is crazy, bro.
Your Powder story is crazy. Powder story is nuts. So, hmm, Jason Victor. Honestly, I thought Victor was like more interesting than Jace was.
Yeah, that's
If
why
anything,
that's why I had to say Victor because I was like, yo, Victor's story is just like I want to see more of him in season 2.
yeah, I definitely want to see more of Victor too. Um, yeah, I think I'll put Victor over Jace in terms of in terms of favoritism. But I
Hmm.
think my favorite character, um, I think my favorite character is Vi, only
Hmm.
because I like a leader.
Yeah.
Like I like a good leader, right? And I think Vi was like a really good leader, even though like sometimes she didn't really work as well with others. Like I know like her and Caitlyn's relationship was kind of rocky at times, and but I like the sequences when they were young, and then she was like always the leader of whatever was going on between like the gang and everything.
Hmm.
So I like her character and her character arc and everything. Yo, how long exactly was that time jump?
Man,
Do you
that
know?
time jump was probably, I don't know exactly how long, but it was probably, I don't want to say like 10 years, but it was at least like 5 years. It was long.
It was at least 5. Yeah, it was long because Powder was like a kid, um, like a young kid when we first met her,
Hmm.
and then when we got her in episode 4, she looked like pretty old. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I don't know how long the time jump was, but and they didn't really mention it
Yeah.
in the show. The time jump was really interesting because it really showed like not only how the characters changed, but like how the environment changed or the city. Because it was how do I put this? I think Jace and Victor's breakthrough was before the time jump, right? Like when they had to see the court,
Hmm.
when when they had to approach the council with their discovery, that was before episode 4, right? Because then once episode 4 came, we saw like how far like Hex Tech has taken the city already.
Hmm.
Yeah, throughout the years. So that time jump was like it really did a lot because it showed how far Piltover had advanced, and then like it showed how bad like Zon or the Undercity turned out to be after after Shimmer took over the streets because of Silco. So there are like just so many parallels in the show that kept it going, like that, like Hextech and Shimmer.
Hmm.
Like they were uh like two different like advancements that really pushed the growth of both like cities. Even though even though like Zon or the Undercity wasn't as developed as Piltover, the people there became more dangerous because they were so because Shimmer was like part of them now.
Oh my goodness, that part when they showed the undercity of the undercity, where those people were basically like, I don't even know how to say it, like the crackheads of Arcane.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yo, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was sick. That was a lot.
And you know what else I like too is this show. It's almost like I don't even remember it because it was just so fitting how people were cursing, but it wasn't forced, because a lot of times you'll
Yeah,
see that in a show that's supposed to be a quote unquote adult show. There's people just dropping f bombs all over the place, like, but it's like, okay, we get it. It's for adults. You don't have to curse every other sentence just
right, right,
because
right.
you got the rated R or the TVMA rating. I mean,
Hmm.
you know. So I also like that too. It's like, yeah, people curse, but we're not just gonna throw it at you all the time. 'Cause I mean, that's kind of how it is
Right.
in real life. I mean, rarely do you come across people that are cursing every single word, but yeah, when you're hanging out with your friends and you're being casual, yeah, you're probably gonna curse.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a show for kids. It was covering like a lot of things, like not even just the profanity, but how like Shimmer was kind of like indicating like drug use, right? And
Right,
how
where we don't even have to sugarcoat that. I mean, that's basically what it was.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's that's pretty much what it was like. like Shimmer was drug use, and then it was also okay. So you can look at Jinx's character and like the her mental state and
Well,
and
yeah, that
how
was
like her
mental
mental state
illness.
like declined. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was really, it was really going south like throughout the whole show, and that was from a combination of like her early childhood trauma
right.
and yeah, her early childhood trauma that was really eating away at her. And there's one more thing. I'm not sure what the third thing that I had was, but yeah, like I was like, yeah, this show is definitely not for kids.
Yeah, so how'd you feel about like we talked a lot about uh Vi and Powder slash Jinx. So how'd you feel about the main villain Silco?
Soko, yo, I like Soko. I thought Soko was cool. I didn't really realize how dark his character was earlier on, or at least like when we first met him on screen, in episode one, the end of episode one. I was trying to see like how dark his character was, and like I didn't realize how dark he was until maybe at the end of episode two when Vander was captured by his monster because we heard the transformation in the end of episode one of when he put the the shimmer into that one kid and turned into the monster.
Hmm.
We heard the transformation, but we didn't see what he turned into until episode two. And then once we saw like how crazy of a monster he was, I was like, yeah, like I was like, yeah, so close kind of nuts. And then um it was kind of cool. Um it was kind of cool seeing that he and Vander had history. I think episode three covered that the history that he and Vander had and how they had like similar dreams for their part of the city, the Undercity. Um, but then it really did seem like you know how everybody has their own opinion about how things should go. It's
Hmm.
like Silco's real his real outlook on how on the Undercity's like oppression was that the people up top weren't really going to change, and he really wanted to declare war on them, right? But Vander was really, you know, not really much of a fighter anymore, and his outlook more now was really just like providing for his people and just making sure everybody was safe. But Silco is used to put everybody in danger. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's always cool. It's always cool when you see like a villain that has like uh
Like he's not just straight up evil,
yeah,
but his
right,
goals are definitely putting people at risk.
right, exactly. So that was like the best part of about Soko to me. But then after that time jump, I I feel like he really just uh once he realized that like Bandit was out of the way and then like his shimmer was in the streets and it really pushed him to a higher status. I feel like he didn't really care about the people as much anymore.
Hmm.
And then the yeah, he didn't really care about the people as much anymore, especially because if you're putting if you're really putting like drugs on the street, you don't really care about your people. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I I really thought that he was interesting in that way. Um, well, you know what? I can kind of argue that like maybe he didn't really care as much about the people. Um, he he was just really upset about how the um the people of Piltover or like the council of Piltover was treating them, right?
Hmm.
or like how they viewed them. So he was really more about how they were viewed as a community of the inner city, versus like he cared more about how they were viewed than he cared about the people. So yeah, that was like Silco was very interesting in that sense.
Yeah, and then the whole history with Vander and the reveal that Vander was the one that made him lose his eye or whatever. It's just
Oh yeah, yeah, that was crazy.
yeah, like this show really knows how to have those sad moments, man. I mean, damn.
Yeah, they really made sure to like cover like a lot of stuff that like we had questions about.
Hmm.
Like like I'm pretty sure like everybody who who saw Silco at first was like, oh, what happened to his eye? Like
Hmm.
his eyes messed up.
Well, that's
They're
what we
probably they're
think
probably
about
gonna cover
anybody
that sooner or
with that
later.
you see with one eye. I mean, how'd you? That's like,
Right. It's
you
like
know, if you see anybody with one eye, your first thought's probably, damn, how you lose it?
right. Like losing your eye must be crazy.
Yeah.
But um so like it was kinda I mean, uh seeing the relationship between Silco and Vander uh earlier on, or like at least when they were working together, that really um that really contributed a lot to the story, especially the way especially further on when we saw that well Vi got locked up and then Silco started taking care of Powder. So that really played a big part uh, into into Powder's transformation into Jinx, I think.
Hmm. Right, and then
Um
she just started calling herself Jinx because that's what Violet was calling her. Like, oh, you're a
yeah,
Jinx. So then she just started calling herself that. It was pretty sad. She really adopted that bad identity that really made her feel sad.
yeah. It was pretty sad. Her what's it called? Her transformation was like it was honestly kind of terrifying. I
Hmm.
was like it was so much going on like earlier on when she was young. You kind of so like looking back, like once you get to like episode 5, right? Looking back at how she was in episode 1, you can kind of see how they were highlighting how unstable she was as a character,
Hmm.
and like how nervous she got in situations, and how that uh really would contribute to why she why her transformation was so like pivotal to the story. Um, but yeah, like the new the new Powder, like the like Jinx, like she was like a completely different person. You could see it like you could see it in her eyes
Hmm.
and like in the way she moved and everything. I was like, wow, they really did a good job with like the animation and everything to make it seem like she's really she really went through something to turn into this new person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. And I was glad to see that like a lot of the skills that she tried to show earlier on in the when she was a kid really really blossomed uh into what she has now, which have really turned her into one of the strongest characters on the show.
Yeah, Powder slash Jinx and all that. What you just said was really is really why she's one of my favorites in the show. You know, like you said,
Yeah.
transformation, everything that happened, her growth. You said that Victor was more interesting than Jace. I definitely can see that. I mean, Jace to me was kind of like in my head. I kept calling him Tony Stark because he was like the tech dude that he's trying to invent a new thing. And yeah, Victor's story was just probably his story was probably the most interesting to me out of the upper city people. Um, because I really just want to see where it goes. I mean, he's dealing with that disease that he's crippled, but we're starting
Yeah.
to see him change his body with the hex tech. So I want to see in season two whether it like kills him or like corrupts him or goes wrong, or if
Hmm.
it ends up working. Um, and I did like that whole dynamic with the council and Jason Victor, and they're ready to do, their inventions, but the council's like, no, basically holding them back and stuff. Um, and another thing that I'm waiting to see in season two is the whole deal with Belle and her mom and
Oh,
her family. Because remember, she left her family to move to Piltover, and she's from a pretty strong line of people from wherever they're from,
right.
and that whole dynamic with her mother and stuff at the end of the season was pretty interesting because Mel is somebody they didn't really focus on in season one. So I'm hoping that they focus on her more in season two. We get a little information about her backstory and what her deal is. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see where her story goes in season two. I think in season two, that's probably the thing I want to see the most because again with the world building, we know a lot about Piltover and Zon, but we still don't really know about the whole Earth in general in
Right.
this world. So that was like the first seed of people from outside of Piltover and what's the world like outside of it and that whole dynamic. So I'm definitely excited to see that in season two.
Yeah, I agree with you. Season two really has a lot to cover. Um, they really left like a lot of open-ended questions in certain areas,
Mhm.
especially with like a lot of the council members and Mel especially and her mom. I was kind of shocked that they added um the the whole family arc in there, especially because uh it was so close to the end of the show.
Mhm.
But like I'm glad that they didn't really close it out
Right,
before
right.
the show ended. So yeah, it was like um what's it called? It was a few things that like I'm looking forward to in season two as well because I feel like there were a couple payoffs that like we didn't really get. It was only a couple though. I thought I I'm still waiting to see like a proper fight between Caitlyn and Jinx, especially especially because like their power set is so similar. Um, like Caitlyn is not really on the tech side, but because like she's such a good shot, as and so is Jinx. I'm like I'm kind of waiting to see like a showdown or something like in season two. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, yeah. And since you brought up Caitlyn, the part with her training and shooting was tough.
Yeah, it was.
Like that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole show.
What's it called? Caitlyn was like an interesting character because like all right, so you brought up earlier, right? How like a lot of the people in Piltover don't really know like how life is in the other city, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then like Caitlyn was used her like police like credentials to get Vi out of prison, but like at the same time, without Vi, without Vi, her investigation in the Undercity was really not like it's not really gonna happen because she didn't have the street smarts,
Right, right. Like her heart was
you
in the right
know?
place, but she had never even been down there. She didn't know how anything worked. And that was really just, the prime example of the upper city not really knowing what's going on right under their noses.
um, yeah, Caitlyn, like she, yeah, it was kind of cool that they highlighted that because I feel like um well that's definitely how it is in real life as well.
Hmm.
Um, and there's also the fact that like Caitlyn, I'm not sure if it was Caitlyn's character or like somebody else in the show, but I think they were saying something similar to the fact to something similar to the idea that like just because they're in the inner city, it means that they're like bad people
Hmm.
or something like that. And then wait, I think Jace brought it up actually. I think Jace brought up that idea, and then it really offended Victor because Victor is from the Undercity, and he
Hmm.
was just like, "How could you say that?" So then it was kind of it was like I like how the show like really highlighted. Yeah, Caitlyn was cool. Uh, I like I like her character. I really want to see her develop more as a fighter, like come season two, because I feel like her character could really, like, they could really do a lot with her character, especially after the way that we saw Powder transform
Hmm.
into Jake's. Like, I want to see. I need something like that from Caitlyn.
Another thing I was thinking about is I'm still trying to figure out what's the deal with the council. I mean, wasn't one of those guys like a robot? I mean,
Oh yeah,
so we still don't really know about what their whole deal is. How did they become part of the council? Why is that one guy a robot? Why is that one little guy live for like 300 years or whatever?
right.
I mean, there's still so much we don't know. And I wonder if they're gonna make the magic normal, because that was the other thing with the hex tech and the arcane. They were basically saying that magic, don't play around with magic and stuff.
Right.
So I wonder if they're gonna make doing magic normal in that world.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of ways that the show can really go up from here. Uh,
Hmm.
I think the little guy's name is like it. It was like Heimdegger or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
It was like Heimdegger. He uh it was kind of strange because all right, so when I first saw his character, I kind of expected like more like creature like characters to appear in the show, but we didn't really get many
No, yeah, we
or
didn't.
any. So it was very strange that his character was so out of place almost. Uh so I kind of want to, yeah, I do want to get more of like his background and explore more of his character next season. Um, and also like one of the payoffs that like we didn't really get from his character was that like they said that he was like a brilliant scientist, and I wanted to see him contribute towards Jace and and Victor's research more than he did because like the way that he wasn't like so surprised in their original like at advancements and then once they finally stabilized their creation it almost seemed like whatever was going on like he's seen it before, right? So I want to see like more of what he can bring to the table in season two. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay. We know that the beginning started off with like some uprising from Zon. Do you think that at the end of the show it's just going to be a big battle between the upper city and lower city?
Um, I do. I do, especially because of the way this season ended. Because you know how like it ended on that cliffhanger where Jinx, I think she shot the rocket
Oh yeah, at the
at the
council.
council. Yeah, she shot the rocket at the council, and then we haven't seen like what happened yet. But I'm pretty sure that's definitely gonna spark some tension, and
Hmm.
that was like Silco's whole plan at first too. I really think Silco's plan was to take out the council because if you okay, so I would say the upper city would definitely have the upper hand um with Hex Tech on their side, right?
Hmm.
But like if they lack leadership, so like if Jinx was to take out all the leaders, then it would definitely be easier for the Undercity to win that battle. You know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
think that was like Silco's plan to take them all out at once, and then that would at the same time declare war, but it will be war against a weekend Piltover. So yeah, I definitely to answer your question, like I definitely expect there to be like a war between the two cities.
And one thing I forgot to bring up too is about the fights. All the hits felt like they had so much weight to them.
Yo, right?
And that's kind of a hard thing to do, especially in animation. I almost felt like I was getting hit sometimes. I'm like, damn, the way people was getting punched and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, man, there's just so many little things like that in this show, man, that just really put it over the top.
Hmm.
So many.
What you were saying about like the heavy hitting, it was a
Hmm.
lot. It was a lot of that, right? Especially like early on, it was kind of weird. Like the power scaling was kind of weird, right? How strong these characters were, right? Until like so. All right, so you have Vi, right? Let me go back to like that scene once more when Vi was fighting Silco's minions on the bridge, right?
Hmm.
It's like Vi was putting in all that work with those gauntlets, right? But then and like it seemed like she was hitting it hard. But then once like she hit the Silco's like Shimmer monster, right? It was like her hits weren't really landing, right? Or like they weren't doing any damage. But then like early like the first time we saw the monster, it was like one hit from the monster would kill somebody. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like Vi took one of those hits and it really put her down. But then like Vander got up, right? And then when Vander started fighting, like a couple of his hits against the monster, like as he was regular, right? Kind of kind of like gave off some damage. So I'm just like, wow, like you can kind of tell from like based on those two sequences, like Vi's punches versus Vander's punches, that Vander is just that much stronger of a character than Vi is. And that's why when like once he took the shimmer, he was so much bigger than than Silco's monster. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, he was so much bigger, and he was able to just take him out like like that. So that was like it was really cool like the different like details um that they incorporated into each scene. It was just so well done. Um What did you? So, I it was kind of interesting, like the way that you uh when you thought of Jace as like a Tony Stark. It's kind of cool. Like now I think about it because the I forgot what they're called, but the little blue spears that they made, like that's like essentially like an arc reactor.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
it just powers anything. So the way they're able to put it into the like he's able to put it into like his hammer and then and also into the gauntlets. Like that was really cool. But like I I did feel like with Jace's character, like his character started off real strong and then like I ended up not really liking his character as much toward the end of the show.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I thought okay, so I thought like his character was really cool in the beginning, right? He he had like his interest in magic and different ways that he can harness it, right? But then low key as the season went on, it seemed like Victor was putting in more work in the lab than he was, right? Because his
Because he had to do with all them politics.
yeah, they made him like a politician. So like Victor,
Yeah.
yeah. But like it was really cool to see them as a team because they didn't really have Hextech without each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no way they would have been able to stabilize anything if they hadn't been working together. But yeah, I think that's why I like Victor's character more because I if I'm being honest, like I prefer Jace as an inventor and a scientist more than like a politician. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then I really thought like the inventor side of him was cooler, and um because we didn't get that toward the end of the show, uh we really had to get most of that from Victor, and it was cool to see what Victor did combining the Hextech and the Shimmer.
But I think Jace also prefers to be an adventurer. I mean, as you can see, he didn't really like to deal with the politics and stuff. So it was always that struggle with him just wanting to do whatever, but he couldn't because of it. And that's why you saw near the end too with Victor basically using the hex tech on himself because he was growing more and more distant from Jace, and he was even feeling more alone. That's why he ended up, doing what he did. So it was really that struggle um, for Jace being a politician. So that's another thing I want to see in season two is just Jace going to keep going that direction, or is he going to end up falling back and going back to his roots?
Hmm.
Oh, and his fight scene was good too.
Yo, I had that written down. I was like, Jace finally got a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, his fight scene was really cool. I like how they incorporated his hammer and everything. It was cool. Um, I think that was like I think I have his fight scene like partnering with Vi as like top top five in the show.
What was also a good fight was Vi versus that lady with the robot arm.
Oh yeah, I think her name is Savika.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what her name is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. And I like how again with the steampunk, just the little details of how the arm was working. Um, that was really cool.
Oh yeah. The the arm was cool. I like the arm. It was cool. It was cool. Like the first because they fought twice, right?
Yeah.
So like the first time they fought, it was cool to see like Vi holding her own without any uh, like tech or like advancements, right? It just goes to show like how much of a skilled fighter like Vi is. But that fight was short because I think I think Caitlyn like bailed Vi out and because she shot Savika in the arm. So
Yeah.
that fight was short. But the second time they fought when Vi had the gauntlets, that was a good fight. Like that was more evenly matched in terms of like what they used during the fight, like the weapons they used in the fight, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it really gave Vi the upper hand. But I would say that between that fight and the fight with Jace, those those were two like the biggest fights toward the end of the season. Like the fight when she was fighting alongside of Jace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
those are
know,
two of the biggest.
Do you know what other fight was big? Was when it was who was it? It was like it was when Vi and Powder finally linked up and they were fighting together, and then also when Powder fought Echo.
Oh, and Powder fought Echo.
Yeah,
That was cool. I
yeah, and
think
like
okay,
I like
so
how the animation kept flipping back and forth between like them as kids and then them as like older
exactly.
teenagers, I guess. Like
Yeah,
that, and it made it just hit that much harder, reinforcing that these are childhood friends, and then look at them now, they're fighting each other.
right. It was kind of weird in that sequence, right? It was like it was such a good fight, and like I I think that that flipping back and forth was such a good payoff in that moment
Yeah.
that like the way the fight ended, I wouldn't have I I don't think I would have minded if if either one of them died from the explosion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they both survived they both ended up surviving the explosion. But I I don't think I would have minded if either one of them if either one of them died. It was just such a good setup for the fight. And then like before that, so what you mentioned before, the fight when Jinx and Vi uh were uh fighting together because the Firelights, which was Echo's crew
Hmm.
when they came through, right? I at that like it wasn't just that point in the show. I think it was like earlier in the show. Once I realized like maybe episode 4, hovering around episode 4 when I realized that like everything and there was like a huge like time jump. I was wondering where Echo's character was, right?
Yeah.
And then the behavior of the one main guy, the one main Firelight, it kind of like came to me after a while like, before he took the mask off. I was like, oh, this must be Echo. Like it really I was trying to figure out where he was the whole time. The
Yeah.
whole time he was right in front of us. So I thought that was cool, and I thought that was well done, and I thought that was a pretty good payoff in the show. His reveal,
Hmm. Yeah, it was.
yeah. But yeah, there's so much to talk about in this show. It was like it was really it was really a roller coaster each episode. There's there's so much that the show covered that I was surprised that they covered, and then it was so much that we got that I didn't expect at all.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, it was just a crazy ride from start to finish. I mean, you really can't ask for much more in a TV show, man.
yeah, it did really well with we didn't even talk about the relationship. Oh, we did. We did kind of, but like the relationship between it. All right, so it just seemed like toward the end of the show, all the relationships between all the characters were like shattered in a way,
Hmm.
and that was just like that was kind of heavy, like at times because especially to see like how hard like how much that affected Jinx's character earlier on in the show. I'm just like now wondering like how much like it's gonna affect her character even more going on, and also how much it's gonna affect Vi and everything moving forward too. Because I know that like now that Vi has really seen how much Powder has changed, it's really like worrying her, right? And
Mhm.
then like Powder and Vi, like the way their relationship like isn't what it used to be. It's really affecting Powder in that way as well, and also her relationship with Soko, the way that it ended, like not being the best in season one.
Hmm.
Yeah, it really did a lot with the relationships and everything. But yeah, other than that, like uh anything else you wanted to say about the show?
Man, I think that's it. I mean, to anybody listening, tell us what you think about it. I mean, hit us up, Instagram, Twitter, at Filmjet Pod. Same name on both social medias. Search us on YouTube, Filmjet. Let us know what you think about Arcane. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Um, I'm constantly looking for more stuff to watch, from anything that's new coming out to really obscure stuff. I'm really just a fan of everything. So it could be anime, TV shows, movies, American, foreign, whatever. I'm down to watch anything from any genre, from comedy to action to horror to whatever. So let us know what you want us to talk about. Hit us
We
up,
got
like I said, at FilmJetPod on Instagram and Twitter. DM us. Yeah,
mhm. we got we got a lot of stuff coming out soon. So we're gonna have like a lot of like new content. So make sure you guys like keep us updated of what you're into, and then we'll try our best, you know. But just
definitely.
let us know. Yeah. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back again to talk more movies next week.
Definitely.